My name is Emily Carter, and last winter, when I was 16 years old, something happened that my little brother, Jacob, and I still talk about almost every week. It wasn't scary in a bad way. It wasn't dramatic in the Hollywood sense. But it was the first time I realized just how much responsibility, courage, and love can show up on a day you expect to be completely normal. And looking back, it's the day that changed how Jacob looks at me, and how I look at myself. It started on a Saturday morning in December. Snow had been falling since before sunrise, leaving a soft white blanket across our neighborhood in Maple Ridge, Colorado. Dad was out of town visiting our grandma, Mom's mom, who had been recovering from surgery. Mom was scheduled for a long shift at the clinic where she worked as a nurse. It was just me and Jacob at home for the day, which was something we'd done 100 times before. Jacob was 10, full of energy, and had the habit of turning any room he entered into the set of some imaginary adventure movie. The first thing I remember from that day was waking up to the sound of Jacob thudding down the stairs like a herd of elephants. I groaned, rolled out of bed, and followed him to the kitchen. He'd already pulled out cereal, milk, 2 bowls, and a box of crackers, because apparently breakfast wasn't complete without a side of crunchy snacks. Mom kissed us both goodbye, reminding me for the 10th time to keep the doors locked, unplug the space heater if we used it, and call her if anything came up. She looked tired, but still gave us her warm smile, the one she always saved especially for us. "Be good," she said, tapping Jacob's head. He grinned with milk on his chin. "And keep an eye on the weather. They're saying the storm might get heavier tonight." I nodded. "Got it. We'll be fine." She hugged us both and left. And that's when the day took a turn none of us expected. About an hour after Mom left, the snow started falling in thick, heavy flakes, beautiful, but a little intimidating. The wind picked up, rattling the windows. I made Jacob bundles of blankets on the couch and suggested we watch a movie, something cozy to pass the time. But the storm had other plans. Halfway through the movie, the lights flickered. Once, twice, then everything went dark. The TV shut off, the room dimmed, and the house fell quiet except for the wind howling outside. "Emily," Jacob whispered, "did the power go out?" "I think so," I said calmly, even though my heartbeat sped up. We checked the switches. Nothing. I peeked outside. The snow was already piling high, blowing sideways. I tried calling Mom. No service. Then the power outage adventure began. Jacob wasn't scared, not at first. Actually, he thought it was exciting. We gathered flashlights, lit a couple of emergency candles Mom kept in the cupboard, and sat together in the living room. Jacob kept talking about how we were like survival experts on a mission. I played along because the last thing I wanted was for him to feel afraid. The temperature dropped quickly. Without heating, the house went from pleasantly warm to chilly within an hour. I wrapped Jacob in his thickest jacket and made him wear the ridiculous wool hat our grandma knitted for him. We played games, talked, told stories, listened to the wind. It felt strangely peaceful, until the real problem started. Around early afternoon, we heard a loud cracking noise outside, like a tree branch snapping. Jacob jumped. "What was that?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But stay here. I'll look." Against the icy wind, I checked from the front window and saw that a tree branch had fallen onto the electrical line near our house. The wires had come loose, hanging low. A spark lit up the snow for a brief second before the wind snuffed it out. My heart dropped. I pulled out my phone again. Still no signal. The storm must have knocked out cell service too. When I returned inside, Jacob was sitting on the couch, hugging a pillow. He looked smaller than before, like he'd suddenly realized this was more serious than a simple winter blackout. "Is everything okay?" he asked. "Yes," I said, "but we need to stay warm. And we shouldn't go near the windows on that side of the house just in case." Jacob nodded, trusting me completely. That trust mattered more than ever. We moved everything to the safest room in the house, the den in the middle, with no large windows and extra insulation. We made a fort of blankets, pillows, and sleeping bags. I brought snacks, water, and the first aid kit because it made me feel prepared. As the hours passed, the house grew colder. Jacob shivered even with the blankets. I wrapped my arms around him to share warmth. It reminded me of when he was a baby and I used to sit beside his crib so he'd sleep. Out of nowhere, Jacob whispered, "Emily, are we gonna be okay?" I squeezed his shoulders. "Yes, I promise. And when Mom gets home, she'll see we managed everything like champions." But I was starting to worry, not for us exactly, but for Mom. She'd be trying to get home in a dangerous storm. And Dad was hours away. Around dusk, we heard a scratching noise, quiet but noticeable. Jacob's eyes widened. What was that? I listened closely. It came again, scratching, shuffling, tapping. For a second I panicked, imagining something ridiculous, like a wild animal trying to get in. But then I realized it was coming from the back porch. I cautiously opened the back door, just a crack, and found the neighbor's dog, Buddy, shivering in the snow. He'd apparently escaped their yard and gotten stuck outside the storm. My heart melted. Buddy loved Jacob, and Jacob adored him right back. I brought Buddy inside, dried him off, and wrapped him in a blanket. The way Jacob's face lit up warmed me more than the blankets did. "Emily, you saved him." I laughed. "Well, he's family too." We added Buddy to our blanket fort. He curled up next to Jacob, offering instant warmth. With the storm raging, the three of us huddled together, telling silly stories to distract ourselves. Time dragged on. The cold crept in deeper. But we stayed close, kept each other warm, and waited. Hours later, long after sunset, we heard something outside. A car, then footsteps, then Mom's voice calling our names. I rushed to the door with Jacob right behind me. Mom looked exhausted, covered in snow, cheeks red from the cold. "Oh, thank God," she said, hugging us both tight. "I was so worried." "We were okay," Jacob said proudly. "Emily made us a fort. And she saved Buddy." Mom looked at me, her eyes softening with pride. "You took good care of your brother today," she said. "I'm really proud of you." Those words stayed with me long after the storm passed. In the morning, power crews fixed the lines. The sun came out. The world looked peaceful again. But that day, the long, cold, unexpected day, was unforgettable because it was the first time I felt what it really meant to be trusted, to be responsible, and to protect the people you love. To Jacob, it was the day his big sister became his hero. But to me, it was the day I realized that sometimes, the smallest, quietest moments end up shaping who you are. And that's why we'll never forget it.